everybody, and welcome to this month's IGP session, which I called something like For the Love of Tracing Paper. I can't remember. The names are always a little bit tragic. Can I just say I'm in my studio, and oh, just gone off screen is a little wasp that's like trapped, and so I feel sad because I often see the dead bodies of insects in my shed. So yeah, I just came in. I've been trying to coax it out, but it just doesn't listen to me. Anyway, side chats. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with is this little book that I've been using. So it's by Cardi Papers, and the reason I'm starting off with it is because whenever we want to draw any patterns, Islamic geometric patterns, if we want to repeat it, we really care about where we're going to repeat it, the size of the paper, and how big our tile is going to be. So if I did a one big tile that big, okay, I'd only get one of them in my book, and then there'd only be parts of it. So I'm going to do a little flick through because I'm really enjoying keeping the sketchbook. It's got cotton rag paper inside it, and I wanted to start it in January and maintain it, and I did. So it's all my IGP101 things. And here you see my first little bit of tracing paper. So this idea that how did we get this repeat? We can do it in two ways. We can do it by drawing on one piece of paper. Let's zoom in a little bit. This is so far away. So drawing on one piece of paper, taking a tracing, and then flipping that tracing and rubbing it several times. I'll give you a few tips and hints and so on about how I would do that. I've discovered some very recently, so that was quite fun. And then some chit chats here. What's going on here? And then here, if you notice that the tile's even smaller because I wanted to go even more of a repeat. So I made some notes about proportions here. Maybe one day we'll go through those as well. And this was the pattern that I taught last month. And this is the pattern that I'm teaching this month. I hope this is shining bright, but I can see somebody with the jaw open. Thank you, Nuria. But yeah, I used lots of leftover paint. So you can see the size that I'm working in. And therefore, if I want to repeat something, typically I will use 3 of the tutorials that I've got that draw the full thing and then repeat it. But if I want to tile something, let's take some measurements. So the height of this paper is 20 and the width is just 24.5. So I would like to get ideally 1, 2, 3 along the middle and then whatever's on the other side. So that 24, if I wanted to get 1, 2, 3 of them, I'm going to divide it by 6. So imagine the radius is one full circle's width times 2, another 2 radiuses, another 2 radiuses. So 24 divided by 6, and the radius is 4, which is quite small. So I'm going to do that. And I've already decided what pattern I'm going to draw. And here's a few kind of notes as to what's happening. So this is the one I'm going to draw. It's tutorial 33. I'll show it to you in a second. And I'm going to use tracing paper. And then hopefully if we have time, if I wanted to do it again, simpler, then there's these 3 tutorials that I've got on YouTube which enable you to take a square and divide it into 3 by 3, 4 by 4 and 5 by 5, which is a really useful drawing. So even if we don't get fully into it, I do want to show you. So which is the pattern that I've chosen? It's this one. I'm going to see if I can angle it so that the reflection doesn't show. And so it's very similar to the pattern that I've been drawing this month, or I'll be teaching this month. So it's got 4-fold symmetry. And so we'll begin with our circle, and then we'll use the extra marks to put in our vertical. Then we want to do some extra marks to make our square, put in the diagonals, put in the actual square, and then put in certain marks so that we can then do the pattern, which is basically an octagon with some nice embellishments in the middle and a 4-pointed star somewhere as well. So just having a look at it, and then I'll come to it in a second. You can see how I've used it here, and Actually, I don't think we need that circle so much in the middle. We need it more so in the corners. But I just wanted to give you a preview. The tutorial, these animated ones, they're very short and they're really pauseable. So I think they're still good to follow. And I can see people are watching them on the old analytics. So I know they're still relevant and still useful. So I'm glad I made them however many years ago. But yeah, this is the pattern that we're going to be drawing. If you do kind of lose track of what I'm going to do live in a moment, just think you can go back to this tutorial. Those lines look really immensely thick. They're actually just like a fuzzy line, but the camera's not picking them up. They look like I've just gone through them with a madly thick pen. Okay. Um, yeah, so this is the pattern repeating, and that's the beauty of it. Okay, so let me rewind it for myself and then pause it. And let us begin. So I'm going to be drawing on an A4 piece of paper. And as ever, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to be using coloured pens. But if you're doing this, then please do it on plain paper. I've got cardboard underneath so that the compass point is something to adhere to. If you do it straight away on the table, it will slip and slide. So let's see what we can do. So we are going to draw our horizontal line. And I calculated my radius as 4 centimeters. So it is quite a small tile. I can zoom in. And I've got all these notes up here, so that's why I'm starting a bit low. But let's begin with our horizontal line. So you'll be using a hard lead, hopefully, a sharp pencil, a 2H. And then we will put a mark down for the middle. Actually, when you're doing something as small as I am, 4 centimeters, it doesn't matter if it's not quite in the middle. So yeah, this is tutorial 33 from my YouTube channel. And I just literally picked it because it looked nice. And then I'm opening up my compass to 4 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a lot more now because there we go. Oh, okay. So the first step was to draw the circle. And notice how carefully I'm trying to place it on that center point. So don't rush your compass placement, it's really important. And we have got our circle. This circle, actually, you don't always have to do it so dark like I've done. It's actually worthwhile doing it lightly or just marking the north, east, south, and west. Um, because you actually need these marks I'm making. So I use the left and the right mark to do 2 arcs. You need these to make the square. So the circle isn't always important. But saying that, I've just remembered, delete everything I just said. We used the circle in a second. So yeah, ignore me. Okay, so we're going to use these 2 marks to draw a vertical. So one from the left, one from the right. And, oh, I just realized because I've got this waiting room, I need to keep an eye on it and let people in. And then one from the left and one from the right at the bottom. So we have now enough information to put in our vertical. Okay, so we take great care with the compass, we carry on taking great care with the ruler. Can I just say, I've got a different orientation to how I've been for the last few months because I did my wall up. It was all taken down because I took it with me for a trip to the Netherlands. And yeah, so now I've done it again. I love it. Like it's sort of refreshed and everything's tidy and neat. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a moment and just check we're okay. Anyone who's kind of come drawing along with me, do speak up if you know anything's too speedy or dodgy or anything like that. So we've now got our vertical. Sorry, my neighbour's over. It's okay. We are going to use the north and the south to complete our corners. So that is our square being drawn or its corners being established just by doing exactly what we did from the left and right, the east and west, and we're doing exactly the same north and south. Okay? All right. So we're getting along super fast. I love it. Okay, so now we're going to put in our horizontals and our verticals that make up the sides of this lovely tile. And be careful that you can see what it's about to do before you do it. Okay, I always sort of hate that moment where it's a rude awakening where you pull away your ruler and then you see, oh, it didn't go through what it's supposed to. Okay, so I did my square, and something like this is really good for you to do over and over, so it almost becomes second nature. So the square tile, or certain things we do over and over and again. So it's worthwhile really thinking about what steps you need to do and why, so that you can just do them. Okay. So we have our lovely square with which contains the circle. And now the next thing I believe was I was doing a 8-pointed star within the pattern. I'm just going to double check to make sure I'm not making it up. Yeah, it's exactly that. So the next two steps are kind of like interchangeable, to be honest. And I'm going to just change one thing about it because that central 8-pointed star, I don't think we need that much. So I'm going to simplify my own tutorial and I'm going to imagine that. Yeah. And then, sorry, I'm just saying things without actually saying things. So yeah, I can see already the corners or the intersections of the octagon. So that part of the pattern has already been drawn. And then that central circle that I put in is actually one that you can draw from here to here. So I don't need to draw those lines, I don't think. I am correcting my own tutorial, simplifying it. It's wild though, the way, you progress. Because, when I did that tutorial, that would have been my like refined, sort of well done however I did it. But this radius is a super mighty useful radius. So from the corner of the square, just touching the circle, I'm going to put it in all four places and the center. And yep, there we go. And the center. I just said and the center. Okay. And looking ahead, what we do probably need now is the two squares in the middle here that are going to make up our eventually four-pointed cross. So let's do that in a nice bright blue. And I'm just going to unpause this to make sure I don't go astray. I'm also going to pick a smaller ruler. Oh, please slow down, go back a bit. Oh, all right, Kat. Thank you. So basically, do unmute to let me know if I've sufficiently kind of slowed down. So we drew our circle and then put in the corners, then draw
How,
our vertical, and
how
then
did
have
you
our
find
square.
the radius for the circles and the corners?
It's this distance.
Ah, of course.
Yeah, perfect.
Of course.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. No worries. It's actually one that I think, having drawn so many times now, you realize you use the same things again and again. So
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even have to actually think too much about from first principles, how does this pattern draw? How does this pattern work? You just refer to the others because there's so much harmony and shared proportions between them. So sometimes some of the patterns are a little bit rogue, that are a little bit different. They're interesting because they don't fit the system. So, potentially they're wrong, but also potentially they're quite fun to like have a go at. Okay, so what we want is we want a cross inside each of these. So the cross is actually relying on, I'm going to do it in red. I just changed, oh no, brown, brown, brown. Such important decisions. So I'm connecting the corners of the static square, so a square that is sitting with its corners on the diagonal. And then I'm going to connect the corners of the dynamic square, and it's got its corners on north, east, south, and west. I sort of want the same in the corners. What I can easily draw is just that much, that diagonal side of the dynamic square. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a trick to get the corner. So if you think about what we want, this little area here, this quarter circle is what I want to see here. Okay, so I've got that diagonal line, I've got that diagonal. So how do I get the horizontal and the vertical? The way we do it, let's zoom in even more. The way we do it is basically we use this corner and this corner across from each other to just complete what we need inside the circle. So we're just putting in the bits we need. These aren't actually the lines of the pattern that we'll be drawing. We'll do that in a second, but this is the information we need so we can draw that. Well, I'm going to say, basically, the underlying grid is complete. Everything else we can actually probably draw on our tracing paper and just take the intersections we need from here. So I am going to get to that stage and let me know how you're doing as well. So we're not drawing the pattern fully on here because I want to do so many things. I'm going to draw them on my tracing paper. Crash, bam, wallop. And then we can draw them in. So again, I feel like there's a bit of a change in my approach. I'm just doing enough for me to have the intersections I need from this paper. That's sufficient. And I don't need necessarily every single line on this paper for me to redraw. Okay, so now I'm putting away my pens. I don't need those. Or if I do need them, they're just there. And I'm going to get out my 2B pencil. So because this session's called For the Love of Tracing Paper, you don't have to say it in that silly voice. I really wanted to emphasize the tracing paper aspect of it because I'm a big fan. But I know not everybody is a big fan of tracing paper. And so what you've got to do is know yourself. If you enjoy a process and you enjoy the outcome and you have the time, or you have limited time perhaps, then, this could be a good one to do. If this is something you don't like doing, then what you are essentially choosing to do is something that might take a little bit longer, but is immensely satisfying to you. So this is something I really, really want people to kind of just be aware of. If you're doing something and you're like, oh, I don't like it, it's too frustrating, perhaps you can give it another go, but don't necessarily think this is the way and we have to do it this way. I'm not a big fan of that. Okay, so if we're going to be tracing, hello.
What would we go?
Somebody talking to me? I don't think they are. So carry on. So we are going to take our 2B pencil, so something that is quite soft. And when we press with it, we want to press really hard so the blackness of the line comes through. And it might become blunt, but then we sharpen it. Or we do something where we rotate the pencil between each line. If you rotate the pencil between each line, it's sort of like you're self-sharpening it. So I'm going to turn it, draw, turn it. And this is something I think people might do automatically and others might not know about it. And therefore like, oh, how did that pencil last that long? Mine's just like a flat edge. So this stage is me essentially making marks so that I can tile this pattern correctly when I transfer it by matching up the corners. So it's like a useful aid. And rather than draw the whole side of the square, which then I have to erase, I want to do it this way. Okay. The next thing is the pattern we are going to draw itself. It's got basically an octagon which has its corners on the original circle on north, east, south, west, and the diagonals. And again, pressing really hard, making sure we're going through the singular intersection. So I normally put my pencil down first, push the ruler against it, and sort of pivot it. And we've got our octagon drawn. The next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to have to refer to this because I can't actually remember what the pattern looks like. So here's the pattern. So we've got this 4-pointed star. This is really satisfying. And all its kind of inner points are on this circle. And what you should notice is I'm going to draw this line. And can you see how the other one on the other side of the star is parallel to it? So anytime you have parallel lines, you can take advantage of it. Ideally, you want to do one, two, sorry, three, four lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in one go. But because that would have been a little bit of a stretch and too abstract an idea, I think it's worthwhile just taking this from it. So we have got our points to a star. It's like the pattern's coming together. And then this side and this side. My tracing paper is getting a little bit smudgy because two things are happening. I'm sliding my ruler and I'm pressing really hard. So having a little paper towel nearby is quite useful. Let's just see how dirty it is. It doesn't look especially clean. But you can see if you don't keep everything clean, then potentially it'll get mucky and you won't like it. Even look at my fingers, they're a little bit grey. So this little idea of having just a paper towel nearby when you're using your 2B soft pencil, definitely embrace it. Now in the middle of the star is a 4-pointed cross. And we're going to draw in the corners, and we're also going to draw the corners there as well. So what we're looking for are just the corners of the static square, and let's see, you can see it's just those corners. Where have I stopped? I stopped where it meets the diagonal side of the dynamic square. So now I can repeat that in the corners, and like so, like so, like so. I'm gonna stop saying like so. Like so. Okay, why do you call it a static square? Oh, Nuriel, this is a great question. So, in all the years I was teaching maths in secondary school, a square kind of had just the definition that it had four equal sides and 90-degree corners. Okay, but the orientation matters a lot in Islamic geometry. So this is also a square, but they're in a different orientation. And so to distinguish the orientation, imagine this square on the left sitting on a table. It's not going anywhere. It's sitting and resting on its base. Imagine this square sitting on a table. It's standing on its corner. It's going to topple over. So it's called a static square when it's in this orientation and a dynamic square when it's in this orientation. And you put the two together, and you end up with the 8-pointed star that you see so frequently in Islamic art. So this you can call mathematically an octogram. So anything ending in gram is like octo, 8-pointed shape. It's also sometimes called a khatam, that means seal in Arabic. It's also sometimes just called an 8-pointed star. And
So
this principle,
sorry,
go,
the
go,
static, you call it static in relationship for where you are.
yeah.
Okay,
It's the orientation of it when you're looking at it.
exactly.
So,
Okay.
like if you say it's just a square and the orientation isn't important, then we lose out kind of knowing the relationship between the two. But just one more thing, I'm going to do it up in the corner. You can take this principle and apply it to triangles as well. So you've got this triangle, and together they give you a 6-pointed star. And that principle can apply to triangles, to squares, to 5-sided shapes. So this idea that shapes can overlap and their different orientations together can give you a star shape. And star shapes are prevalent in Islamic geometric patterns. So it comes from
in
the
the
same
triangle case, which
Yeah.
one would be the static, the one that is pointing down?
You tell me. Which one is static? Let's imagine them, they're sitting
The
on a
second
table.
one. The second one is static.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we're
Okay,
kind
good.
of able to visualize its stability because it's sitting on a base. Saying that, you could also draw a 6-pointed star like this. And all of a sudden, the orientation of static, dynamic are a little bit confused because they're both standing on a point. So it's just one way of simplifying the orientation matters, but it doesn't necessarily apply to every single thing so neatly, but it definitely applies to squares really neatly. So it's a really nice vocabulary to have in your mind. I love that little question. Thank you, Nuria. Okay, all right. We're going to finish off this pattern and we're going to actually put our ruler all the way across the entire drawing because we are going to draw the four-pointed star. So let me just remind you what that looks like. So it's going to look like that. And you can see there's a little bit there, and the full cross in the middle. Did I just call it four-pointed star? It's a cross shape. Okay, so starting in the bottom left corner, I'm starting on the very edge and just going up to the rest of the lines. Here I'm going just up to the vertical, leaving a big gap, and then from the horizontal completing it. So because I know what it's going to look like, I can see I only need bits of the line. Now I'm going to line up the rest of it and draw what I need. So these are short diagonal lines that are going to give me the shape. So I've done all the kind of points in this orientation. Now I'm going to do it in this orientation. Have a close look at my ruler if you can. And can you see how the grid is matching up with this line underneath? I don't know if you can see through it. So parallelness, so seeing it through my ruler is really useful. And I can complete all the sides of the cross. Oh, so that line is parallel to the line I'm drawing. Now, I know potentially there's going to be, these crosses are not going to meet up perfectly, but I'm not going to fuss too much about it. And in a way, I don't want it to be perfect because I want you to see what would be the solution to it. So now our tracing is done. Hello.
Samara, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where is the, when you're doing the diagonals like that, where do you take them from?
You take them from where the line that we just drew ended and match it up with, so this point, this point, this point. So where the two squares meet. So in terms of, it's this one and this one, and this one and this one for that one, but you only draw it up to there and there, and there and there. And then you'll use this one and this one and this one and this one, and draw it just there and just there.
Okay, think I've got it. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. I'm excited to do the next stick. Sorry. Okay. All right. So let's take off the tape. I often notice people just take the paper off and not the tape. The tape, you need to remove it because you're going to be turning upside down. So if you do it in a very deliberate, almost overly dramatic way, it'll help you. Okay. Now the next thing is working in a sketchbook has some additional difficulties because there's all these bumps and unevenness that you need to deal with. So I want to show you my little, I don't know, little trick. So the first one is I just slip this cardboard underneath so that I can move it around. And secondly, I don't want it to be sort of, I don't know if you can see, but there's nothing for it to lean on. So I'm just putting some, oh, that's too big. I was going to put something underneath so I can lean it on something. Let me maybe put the iPad underneath. So just something underneath to make it even. Oh, that worked. Goodbye, iPad. So these little things, they just help make it a little bit more comfortable. Now, I did this, okay, and the cardboard's also useful for me to tape things to when they're not going to fit onto the paper. I'm going to find myself a middle point because I want it to be in the middle. So I'm going to measure on one side 20 and put in the mark for 10, put in the mark for 10, and draw in a guideline. And then when I'm drawing the guideline, I'm doing it very lightly. Actually, I can't do it too lightly because you won't be able to see. So I'll do it quite unlightly. Okay, 25, 12.5. There we go. So these guidelines are going to help me get everything as I want. I like it falling off the edge. So I'm going to just check something. So this tile is 4 centimeters. So if I think about what's going to happen, it's going to be 8 there. Oh, it's just going to fall off the page a bit there. So I actually might just shift my center just a little bit more so I can actually paint to the very edge of the paper. So I'm kind of ignoring this. So now the tracing paper, you have to turn it upside down. And like I said, I did a little, okay, I won't do the shift. That's way confusing. And what I'm trying to do is match up this, and this all on the horizontal. And once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to tape it down. So why do I love tracing paper so much? I learned about myself that sometimes I like to just complete something in one sitting. So doing something where I'm doing it quite quickly became my favorite thing to do so that I could just get it done. Some of my favorite pieces, they weren't done in one sitting, and I'm glad I still do that. But I guess essentially I'm making a lot of examples for my workshops. So therefore I want to do something which they can do in the time that they have. So I've got all these different things that I'm balancing. So I personally quite like doing something in one sitting. So that sitting might be 1, 2, 3 hours. I quite like when I'm teaching that if it's a workshop for 3 hours, they have an example that they can do. I don't want to give them an unrealistic, uncompletable example. So all these practicalities together give me a bit of a love for having something like tracing paper. Now, notice what I'm doing. My left hand is holding it down, and then I'm rubbing almost between the hands, between the fingers, and I don't want the tracing paper to move. If it moves, I have to kind of suffer the consequences of things not potentially leaving one line. And you can't hear it because I think it's muted. But yeah, there is a noise that it makes. The next thing is you have 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities to put it down and make the pattern match. And what am I matching? That cross and that cross, I want to line up with these 2 crosses. Okay, and the reason why I've just turned it is because I want to attach the masking tape, not to my previous drawing, but to itself. And look, it's just about fitting onto the edge. That's cool. Okay, maybe I wanted it more there. Okay, if I was to do it again, let's see, 24. Oh, I did do it. I fitted it so it'd be 3 perfectly across. I was like, why is it working so well? I did the calculation, that's fine. Very satisfying. But it's the edges that I think are, where the pattern's incomplete that I quite like as well. How are we doing for time? We're doing okay. So I'm going to do all 3 in the middle. I might just take away the card for a moment because it's creating a little bit of a bump there. And I'm doing the middle row. And I love how, when people do use things in their sketchbook, it goes all the way to the edges. So this is something, I don't know, I've not really persevered properly with ever. I have got sketchbooks, but I think I didn't really make them beautiful. So I just literally use them like a practical place to draw. So, maybe out of 10 pages, 5 or 6 of them are beautiful. But this, I'm making every page beautiful. I said that too aggressively. Okay. So this cardboard is going to be useful now. And the reason being is because when I put this down, I'll start at this end, I can, I don't have to just sort of, if I did it into there, it'd be really awkward. So if I have this underneath, it's got something it can lean on, whether it's me just using the board for my pencil or something. So yeah, when you're working in something where you're wanting to go off the edge, put a cardboard underneath, and it's a super useful way to approach the kind of the falling off the edges. Okay. So yeah, this is quite a quick way to go. And if things aren't perfect, I don't worry too much because essentially I'm doing a painting. And the painting isn't super accurate. And if it's not quite to my satisfaction, the accuracy, I then try to improve it for the next round. Like I don't kind of fret too much about every artwork I do being perfect. I just try to learn from it. Okay, let's move it like this. Another thing, which I often do, but it's really hard to do on camera, I guess, is angle things. So like, for example, my hand is better off this way. So get myself into a comfortable position and then do the task. And I get a lot more out of it. I'm trying to get 9 tracings out of this. So I do want it to be And this is a tricky one. How am I going to do this? Books, working in books are a little bit tricky. Okay, it's okay. It's actually not bad because it's adhered on 3 sides. Oh, slightly traumatic. Okay. Nice. This is looking lovely. Sorry. Okay, so again, because I want it to be easy on my hand, I'm going to turn it around like so. And I'll zoom out so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm leaving my book open and leaning on the side. And this is actually closer to the table, so it's not so important having the board underneath. The other way around was way too annoying. I was even using the board for when I was painting because I realized when you lean on something, it's very unnerving leaning on a lower thing and a slightly higher surface. So yeah, working on plain paper has got me used to certain things being all evenly, what's the word? Evenly laid out, balanced surfaces, and also me being able to rotate the paper so easily. So with a book, rotating is fast. You have to make sure you don't knock everything down. Okay. There are bits and bobs missing, but it's okay. And let's do the last one. So I will pause on the painting in terms of this session. Maybe I'll record it and make it a little painting session that I'll just post. This is now the hardest one. The paper's curling, the lead's running out. Is that a funny angle? But I did it. Let me get it all in. Okay. Bravo! I did it. So I'm turning it back round. And let's zoom in to see what it looks like. And grab our eraser, but not any old eraser. T-eraser. Zooming in was so dramatic. Okay, so what do we want to keep or what do we want to get rid of? We want to get rid of all the crosses inside the crosses. So you know the ones that are marking the corner, and we want to get rid of the horizontal line. Now, in getting rid of things, I notice people sometimes really start outlining things super carefully, but try not to kind of get too bogged down in doing it too carefully because you just need the shapes. You don't necessarily need everything outlined and lined up perfectly because you're now going to paint it. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to grab one of these and I can see certain bits I will just put in and then let's see. Yeah, you can see how I'm just putting in the things that I'm missing. And I noticed when I was doing it around the edges. So this is soft and it's freehand. And anything where I've just rubbed it out along that horizontal, I'm going to put that in as well. Yeah. So the edges, this is something that I had noticed when I was doing some paintings previously, that the edges, I was really trying to guess the marks, and actually if I just take a bit of care to put them in now, yeah, it's all there. What's happening here? So something like this, it's not obvious what's happening. There we go. So that is ready to draw. Sorry, that is ready to paint. But how long did that take? So that took me 40 minutes, but because I'm talking, maybe, you know, it's quicker if I just do it by myself. And so maybe when I paint it adds another hour. So I could do that in a short time and it would be a really enjoyable creative endeavor in my busy, hectic week. Now, if I had a little bit more time, I might do the same thing, but I would do it as a shape or a pattern that I then repeat and draw as a repeat. So there's 3 videos that are super useful. They are videos 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to grab one little book quickly because it's a super helpful book, and it's called The Diagram. So essentially, this diagram or this concept is so useful. If you draw a rectangle, so not just a square, and draw within it this very simple, I think, unassuming four-pointed star and then another four-pointed star. So one's using the corners, one using the midpoint. You're able to divide that initial square into halves, quarters, thirds, and fifths. If I try to find, oh my God, it opened up the perfect page. If I just show you, so this book is summarizing what I'm about to do. So that drawing there, if I set up a square like I did right at the beginning and draw some of these lines, or just some of them, I could essentially do 9 squares. I could also essentially do, let me open up another one, 5 squares, 5 by 5. If I go one step back, I could also do 4 by 4. So this drawing that I'm about to show you, that's on the cover of this book, is really, really useful. So we are going to draw it and see how we get on. But does anyone have any questions before I do that? So I wanted to kind of contrast the two ideas. The idea that you're drawing something, the single unit, and then repeating it using tracing paper. And secondly, I'm drawing it fully. So I'll be drawing the pattern potentially 9 times. Marika, I absolutely hate how dirty my work gets from hands on the graphite. Forbidden question, do you ever use a fixative? I don't think I have got fixative, but I used it for, no, I haven't got a fixative actually. That's a varnish. No, I do agree that you get more mucky than you need to. I use a 2B pencil and that comes with muckiness. So perhaps you could just use a less soft pencil, but also just always have a cloth to hand. And like almost you could be so, what's the word, fastidious with it and do it after every single stroke. I have seen some of my artwork where I've drawn on top of it remain really clean because I wanted it to be the final artwork because I was so careful with it. So it's one of those frustrations. If you're mindful of it, potentially you can minimize it, but whether you can get rid of it altogether, that's another question. Okay, what color shall I do this in? Okay, I'm going to do it in red. I'm going to draw. Yes, let's do it. Okay, so we are going to draw our square and let's see if I can mark this accordingly. Actually, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'll do it this way. I might do it a little bit weirdly. You'll see why in a second. So 20 on one, 20 on the other, marking the horizontal. Where's that mark on? There it is. There we go. I remember once I was in a class and somebody was working directly on the table. So all the lumps and bumps of the table, as she slid her ruler across, were leaving really sort of patterned marks of graphite. It looked like a little puppy had walked across her table. Like it looked like paw prints. So that was very funny. And so all we did to fix that was put her paper on some tracing paper and I'm sorry, on a pile of paper, and it sort of minimized it. Okay. So I'm going to draw my circle quite big and let's see how we go. So this circle is going to be, and also I'm really cautious of that. I want it to be, I marked the middle, but I'm going to put it to the side a little bit. Yeah, that's weird. Now I've done the mark, I'm going to do it there. Okay, so my red pen on this paper isn't super leaving a great mark. So in a second, I will have to switch it. So I'm having to really, oh my God, I'm really having to draw carefully with this dodgy pen. Actually, let me just switch pens because it's very unsatisfying. So I imagine it's not satisfying for you either. Let's get these back out. Let's see how this one will behave. Maybe it's just the most used pens in my set. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Oh my God. This circle is like the most horrific circle ever. Okay. It's very unsatisfying. So I want to draw my square. So an alternative way to how we did it before, because I don't want so many extra marks, I'm going to open up my compass to slightly more, almost 3/4 of that radius, just so that I can make some marks above and below. The funny thing is, for this, I need it to be a lot more accurate because I'm drawing it so many times, but my choice of pens is really the worst. So the accuracy might suffer. Let's see how we go. What color pen is this? This is a yellow. I've picked a yellow. I've no hope of seeing that. I'm picking an orange now. All the colors are coming out. Okay, so putting in the vertical. Okay, so that circle actually wasn't super important because it's the square. If I just take you back here, it's the square that gives us the beautiful diagram. It's sometimes called a star cut diagram. It's I called it Archimedes sand reckoner. So it's had loads of names over the years. And what we're doing now is just establishing the corners of the square. So take your compass point to make sure it's the radius and draw your arc either side of them so that they cross. And once you've done that, that will be the corners of the square. Okay. And I'm going to switch to a black pen now because I want it to be different colors for what I'm doing. So where are you, delightful black pen? Here you are. Okay. So the square that is now has the potential to be divided into 9 squares, 4 squares, 16 squares, 25 squares. This is the square that's going to be divided up. And this principle of using the corners and the midpoints is actually one that can be used to divide a rectangle into, it's kind of self-similar. They're like 9 versions of itself. So if I just skip ahead, let's see if I can find the diagram that sums up what I'm saying. There's so many proportions that are so well known. So yeah, here you can see it's still a star cut diagram, but it's not necessarily, is that a square? That is a square. I need to show you a rectangular version. It's in here somewhere. Let me flick through. I'm going to flick back just in case I've missed it. Oh, but yeah, this is, oh, here it is. Ta-da! Let's zoom in a little bit. So it can apply to a rectangle. It can apply to a rhombus. It can apply to a kite even. Oh, so clever. Okay, so this is where I'm going to put in the lines that are needed for the star cut diagram and go back to orange. And essentially you're drawing, they're called semi-diagonals. So that's the diagonal, but you just are using this line and you're drawing it 4 times. Up and down, and then 4 times left and right. I've drawn this diagram probably a lot because it's such a nice thing to do. And I'm going to leave you probably with the mission to do 9 of them. Don't know why I said in such a questioning tone. But yeah, let's see how you get on. On Patreon, there's an IGB chat. So do feel free to share your outcomes on there. So just by drawing these lines, so it was 2 from each corner, and each corner is hitting the opposite midpoints of the side. Just by drawing those lines, we've got the star cut diagram. And depending on which intersection you use, so again, back to this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 intersections. Depending on how you use them, you can divide your page into 4, sorry, here is 3 by 3, and let's just go to the 9 by 9. 5 by 5. I'm just saying many numbers. So you're using different things. The one thing you need to be careful of, you're using 2 points really close to each other to get a longer line. So parallelness is really important. So rather than do the 5 by 5, I'm going to do but the 3 by 3. And I'm going to use these 2 points. They're the innermost points. And let's see if I can get everything done. So I'm using this point and this point. Let's put them all in. This point and this point. So 4 points. And my ruler, I'm very, very mindful of how it's sitting in relation to the horizontal. Is it parallel to that? Because if it is, I am happy. If it is not, I'm not happy. Okay, so let's put in the line. And then we'll do the same here. And actually, I'm going to put my ruler, I'm going to turn my book upside down. So annoying using a book. So that I can still see against the horizontal. So slide it down. And you can hopefully see that I'm trying to make sure this ruler is parallel to the line that's already there. And then I'll do the same this way. Again, trying to use the parallelness in relation to the line underneath. And then do the same this way. So you won't have to necessarily rotate it this much every time, but it is useful to just make sure that these lines are parallel. So my red lines of the star cut diagram enabled me to draw it 6 times. Sorry, I said 6, I mean 9. 9 times. Now for this drawing, I needed the verticals and the horizontals, and I needed a circle. I just want to get to the circles because I want to show you how potentially it's a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to go back to using the orange pencil. Hello, orange pencil or orange pen. Here you are. And I'm going to put in for all of them the diagonals and the horizontals. Actually, I might do it in a blue. This is some wild times I'm living in. So let's put in the diagonals of all of these squares. So visualize what we needed for previously, and we needed the diagonals. So all the star cut diagram lines are actually not so useful for this pattern. They're just useful for getting those intersections that we needed. So what you could do is potentially just draw the bits you need. Okay, so this is where the drawing is going to get quite busy, and having the ability to draw things lightly or draw just the marks you need from the star cut diagram is super, super useful. Let's see how we are doing. So all I'm doing is drawing in the diagonals, and then I'll draw the horizontals and the verticals. So if we look closely, you're like, what hot mess is this? But look carefully. Blue line, blue line, blue line, blue line, blue line, blue line. All of them have got their diagonals. And now I'm just going to put in their horizontals. And that horizontal is already there, and their verticals. Okay, so I'm now really able to do so much in one go because all of the lines I draw are working in 3 places. So it's mad, mad, mad efficient. Now I'm going to go back to black because I want to just show you how the next stage is a little bit stressful, because I want to draw 9 circles. I want them to be all the same size. They're a little bit small, so it's a little bit fiddly. But these 9 circles, I want to check them before I commit to drawing them. And I might not check them in all the way, but if I just shorten my pen a little bit, it might help me get my compass a little bit more vertical and just get a little bit more accurate. Okay, so it's something that should have that radius, the width of the square, but let's see. Okay, it's a little bit big on 3 sides, so I'm reducing it. And if you look carefully, your center might not be one singular point. Okay, it's a little bit big here as well. It's a little bit small, a little bit big. Oh, a little bit small. Okay, so let's just see. So this is where your accuracy might appear. Oh, your inaccuracy. the inaccuracy might appear. Okay, so I'm checking it and I'm tending to get a decent enough point, but sometimes it's a little bit big, sometimes it's a little bit small. I think I could just reduce my compass a little bit. Let's see. Actually, I don't want to reduce it too much because it's sometimes big, sometimes small. So I'm going to commit to it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start off in the middle. What was it showing me just there? I don't want to change it either, but let's draw them in. So immediately, I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit of a gap, an overlap there. This one, I'm just going to check it before I draw it, and I'm going to shift it a little bit higher. But yeah, these circles, their ability, or your ability to make them match is a little bit tricksy. So what I think is a good idea is to just not worry too much about it, continue drawing them, and then when you draw your lines for the pattern, just know that they can kind of have this sense of meeting or helping you line up across several circles, so then you can use the other circles to correct the dodgy circle. So if I'm going to talk about any dodgy circle, it might be that one. It's a little bit off. Let's zoom in so you can really see. But yeah, so these circles, ideally, they should be touching like this. So here you can see there's an overlap. Here it's a little bit short. Here it's a little bit short. It's a little bit to the wrong side pair. So all of these things are going to be frustrations. Now, the next thing is we can start drawing what we need for the pattern. So the tutorial, it had an octagon and then it had the smaller circles in between. We could put them in. And then literally everything we need for the pattern is drawn. And that might be where I have to leave you. So I'm just going to put in one of the circles. And let's see if I can get it to work. It's okay. It's not perfect. But this circle and this diagram, considering, like I did majority of my time doing that, wasn't such a long-winded thing, but it is one that is potentially frustrating with its own accuracies and satisfying with its own economies of scale. So try them both, see which you prefer, and do what you enjoy. And sometimes you need to do something several times, I guess, to figure out what you enjoy. But this, just at this stage, is looking beautiful. So the painting hasn't happened, but potentially. Oh, sorry. It's like I can't talk and draw that circle. I'm going to make this a little bit tighter because it's sort of a little bit frustrating. So these circles I'm drawing, they might not be perfect, and when I put my ruler against them, but I'll try to get the best fit possible. Make sure parallel lines are important and maintained. But yeah, this now grid is ready for me to draw tutorial 33 9 times. But when I do some of the lines, so for example, this side of this octagon here will be the same as this side. So if you spot anywhere where you've got a line doing more than one job, definitely use it to do that. So this grid and those tutorials, they're all on YouTube. I'll link them when I share this recording, and then hopefully it'll make sense as to you having a go. Look at that gap. That's horrific. Sarah, I find that I'm much more accurate when I draw it all rather than use the tracing paper over and over. Yeah, so that, I would say, that accuracy and love of accuracy might take you to this method. And even my hands, I reckon they hurt a little bit more doing this. But this to me is so beautiful already. And, I can now outline it and paint it and so on. I might just do that as a recording, as a continuity, and leave it here. But yeah, this one's ready to paint. Did one take longer than the other? Maybe not. Is this one maybe complicated for a beginner? Potentially. So there's all these different factors that you want to consider, but just definitely do what you love. And if you love drawing it fully and you're really satisfied with that kind of accuracy, I would highly, highly recommend it. And that's why I put those tutorials there. If I can just grab this. Oh, I just switched it off. 1 second. And then I'm going to have a look at what you're up to if anyone's got any questions. My password, whoopsie. So if I go back one page, oh, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's these three. So if I just I'd showed you 3 by 3. Let's have a look at 1 by 1 and see if we can just have a sense of what it's like. Let's see if we can see what's going on. I might just So yeah, this idea that you can draw a grid 25 times potentially, or 9 times, or 4 times. It's so powerful. It's a very light tutorial for some reason, but it is visible when you aren't on a screen like I am. But hopefully you can see that it's got the diagonals, it's got the squares, and then the amazing part is this sand reckoner diagram where you're basically drawing semi-diagonals, and then the intersections are the ones that allow you to divide it up into 25 or 16 or 9. And look at all those tiny circles. You just put in their diagonals, put in their horizontals and verticals, put in the circles, and then you're ready to put into each of those squares whichever pattern you like. One tip is draw your first circle quite large, and then it helps maintain the accuracy for the smaller squares. Okay, let's see what you guys are up to. I'm going to stop sharing. And let's see if I can. Hello. The sun has set in my world. But yeah, if anybody would like to share anything, please do. I can see Kat is sharing, so I'm gonna add her spotlight. Oh, hello. Well done, well done.
You. Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I kind of lost you a little bit in the second half there, but
Yeah.
I'll watch again and get it.
Yeah, especially if you're finishing off your one. I just wanted to contrast the two because it's something that I think is a thing to discover about yourself, which one you like, and maybe you'll just forever
Yeah.
like both of them like I do, and you're in the mood for one and not the other, and all of those factors. But definitely doing what we enjoy is a good thing. But yeah, nice to see your work, and thank you, Kat. Okay. Oh, let's admit them and let's remove spotlight. Let's go to the gallery. What is that? Gallery. Here we go. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong button. Hello. Did anyone else want to show anything? Nuria, am I coming to you?
I'm supposed to be in a meeting in the computer.
Love it. Okay. Anybody else want to show anything? Okay, cool. All right. So I hope you are kind of helpful, finding this session and these sessions helpful. And I do really appreciate when people ask the questions, because the thing with anything is when you're not a beginner, like I'm not a beginner anymore, sometimes you forget all the things that were your kind of obstacles or hiccups along the way. So it's good to just have those questions. So nothing is too simple a question, nothing is too unuseful. Useful, unuseful. I can't remember. Yeah, so yeah, definitely keep me on my toes, ask questions, and it's all appreciated. And yeah, these will end up next month on YouTube. But in case you want to pay a little bit of dosh and join the paid Patreon, these are. Can you see how similar this pattern is to the one we've just drawn? Whoa, no, that's the wrong way. That way. So yeah, they're very similar. That's why maybe I was drawn to it, because in the pattern that I'm teaching this month, this one, it says it's from a fountain fez, and I haven't seen it. I've just seen it in a book. So it's interesting to me. But yeah, okay, let me catch up on your comments. Okay, Sarah Beth, thank you. Samira, looking forward to next Sunday's Patreon. Yeah, it is next Sunday, right? Yeah, it's not this weekend. I've got another workshop this weekend. It's all go, go, go for me now. So yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. And I think maybe we might have a similar setup, and I might do this again, perhaps, because yeah, I should have time. Nuria, you made the meeting bearable. Woo, I'm very glad. You're welcome, Nuria. And Jean, so much fun. Samira, thank you. You are welcome. Can I just say the moon will be rising any minute now in my area, and it's almost a full moon, so it's going to be gorgeous. So do look out for it, unless it's already in the sky. No, it's rising about now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Had to mention the moon, obviously. Caroline, thank you so much. Bye. Yep, and bye to everybody. And thank you for joining. And hopefully see you either in the Patreon chat or on the post or on social media, wherever it might be. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely rest of. Oh, the weekend starts now. Okay. Bye. See you soon.